So speaking of silliness, so this, you literally can't make this up. Okay? You can't make this up. So Tony Khan at the AEW All In press conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
He says that there's about 27 people that contribute to AEW's creative process. He gets pitched hundreds of things and he has the final say.
Oh, God.
Right? So Tony Khan said this at All In London at the press conference here in Wembley just this weekend. He goes, there's about 27 people that contribute to AEW's creative process. He gets pitched ideas and he has the final say, right? This is an actual quote from Fightful from 2021 of Tony Khan. Tony Khan says, AEW doesn't have 27 Hollywood writers sitting around writing sketch comedy.
The best guy is Tony Khan.
You what? The exact number, guys. He says AEW in 2021, he's making fun of WWE going, AEW doesn't have 27 Hollywood writers sitting around writing sketch comedy. Tony Khan at All In goes, there's about 27 people writing AEW's creative. Do you guys not understand how ironic this is? How funny this is? How it's so meta. It's so ironic. It's so the universe slapping Tony Khan in the face yet again and being like, dude, shut the fuck up. This is the karma for him on WWE. Now he's got 27 people writing what? Garcia dick wiggling and the Young Bucks humping people's faces and Orange Cassidy putting his hands in pockets and the cartwheel guy and hologram. Like, these are all what your 27 writer. Is that not comedy, Tony Khan? Is that not comedy? Bro, he said in 2021, AEW doesn't have 27 Hollywood writers sitting around writing sketch comedy. Now Tony Khan's got 27 writers sitting around writing his show. You can't make this up.
The best guy is Tony Khan.
You can't make this up.
Man,
This is insanity.
no, you can't.
Your thoughts?
I don't know what is real, what is not real, because like the honesty is not there in a way, but like maybe they do have 27 people now, maybe they don't have 27 people. You know, Tony Khan was never straight up with like the departments and who's doing what, and not based on getting rewards and certificates to know how to write, but actual degrees. You know, he should hire people with actual degrees that know how to write, and run shows. But that's just like disastrous, and it reflects in the ratings. It reflects in what people talk about. You know, no one really talks about the AEW programming for more than what, like a day and a half. You know, so it's very, very telling.
Oh man, I love it. As long as they're around to give me laughs like that and irony like that, sweet irony, as Will Ferrell would say. So AEW reportedly, well, during All In, Ricky Starks tweeted that he was at the movies watching a movie. So like, come on, man.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. But AEW reportedly has no long-term plans for Ricky Starks and are of the belief that he doesn't want to stay anymore. Oh, you think? Then why don't you let him go, Tony? You talked all that. Why don't you let him go?
The best guy is Tony Khan.
So this is Ibu, and Ibu's not saying anything that nobody doesn't already know here. But he goes, the things that seem to be overlapping is that he is frustrated with the fact that he hasn't been given a direction. AEW is of the belief that he doesn't want to stay anymore, and seemingly he is waiting his deal out. That is what people think. Nobody can agree when the deal is expiring. So you have no sources, and your sources suck, and all you're doing is saying what everyone's already said on Twitter. You just said no one can agree when the deal, so none of your sources can agree. So nobody knows when like, obviously he knows and Tony Khan knows and the people. So your sources don't know. And you're just saying the general consensus of Twitter. Great work, Ibu. Wow. Great work. the bottom line is Ricky Starks is home. He's healthy. He does not have any long-term plans in AEW. AEW has no long-term plans for him at this juncture, and that's the situation. Then release him. Your thoughts, Marie?
Basically, I've said this before many times on my own show that most of these guys, including Uncle Dave, will look through tweets and they will gather up information and then they will turn it around and present it to you as fact. And you will pay them to read what you just saw on Twitter, Reddit, wherever they could get these air quoted news from, and turn it around and be like, oh, my sources told me this, when in reality we're like, hey, I saw this guy just tweet that out the same way, but you reworded it. It's sort of getting ridiculous, and that's why we say it's a slow news week. But seriously, let Ricky Starks live his life. Let Ricky Starks basically milk the end of his contract to get that money, and then when he's free, he could do whatever he wants. There's no point to continue to sort of like beat the dead horse of like, oh, AEW doesn't know what to do with him. But in the same breath, Tony Khan was like, Ricky Starks is great. I would want him to come back. I would want him to wrestle in an AEW ring. But it's that contradictory hypocrisy thing of like, the wrestling dirt sheets say that AEW doesn't have any story for him, versus Tony Khan trying to save face and be like, oh, Ricky Starks is great. I just can't, he probably can't fit him in somewhere, but he says that he's great and wants to keep him around. But it's a non-story, non-issue. Find something else, dirt sheets.
And like all that Tony talked, like, we won't let wrestlers, like, we're for the wrestlers, and they were all free wrestlers and all that, all the fandom, free these wrestlers who are trapped in WWE. But then it's like, let Ricky Starks go then. Like, these people don't believe in anything. There's no integrity. The three eyes of wrestling, folks. Kurt Angle taught us all that. Here's Brock Anderson, who's been spotted backstage in WWE. Of course, Arn Anderson appeared on camera, and he's in NXT training now, finally. And Brock Anderson slams AEW, saying they are not set up for young talent to get a chance.
Yep.
So Brock Anderson,
I could have told him it.
Yeah, of course. Calls out AEW over lack of facilities for young talent. And this is what I tell you guys, right? In showbiz, we call AEW like a traveling live studio show. Like, it's not a real, it's not a pro wrestling business or company at all. I know merchandise is one aspect, but it really, in pro wrestling, I mean, you could argue, well, WCW didn't really have merchandise for one. They didn't, but it's a big aspect of it, like marketing your talent. But beyond that, they don't run house shows. They don't have training facilities. And it's not, oh, where's the PC? It's not that, but like, you don't even have a power plant. You don't even have an OVW. You don't, that's what Ring of Honor. No, it's not. Tony's selling pay-per-views and trying to run this in front of his AEW crowds and putting ROH title matches on his TV. No, it's not. He considers it like another brand of like the SmackDown of AEW. That's why they're changing the name as well of Ring of Honor to AEW ROH or whatever. But anyways, they don't have training facilities. They don't run house shows. They don't build up markets. This is why there's low attendance. They don't go to little markets, run shows Tuesdays, Wednesdays, then the bigger markets for their TV, or Mondays, Tuesdays. And then, like, they don't do anything. They're not building a wrestling company. They're just putting on these live shows where it's just random indies. They should have just done random indie pay-per-views and called it AEW pay-per-view once every 3 or 4 months. They just put on a big show with the best of the super indies. And then this company would be thriving way more than it is. But either way, in recent interview, Under the Ring podcast, Brock Anderson reflected on his time with AEW, acknowledging that he wasn't fully prepared for his role there and needed more experience outside of televised wrestling. He noted that in hindsight, he realized he wasn't ready for the position because AEW was a new company and offered limited opportunities for young wrestlers to learn the business beyond what was shown on TV, calling them out for the same. When I was at AEW, it was hindsight is 2020. You can look back and see that things were going to be the way they were, but I didn't know it was a new company. I don't know what was going to happen, but I don't think looking back now, I wasn't ready for that because of it. Because for young guys, there's no setup to really learn and grasp the business. It's just basically just TV. So I don't know. All I'm saying, Lexis King, Brock Anderson, Braun Breaker. Hello. We got something cooking here. We got some like new horsemen or some type of family. I don't know. Maybe those 3 dudes, and then Charlotte Flair like leads the faction of these 3, takes him under her wing or something. Maybe that's just me being a mark, but yeah, I don't know. Brock Anderson is pretty much in NXT, and he didn't really bury AEW, but he just told us what we all already knew. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, well, tomorrow is MLW over here in New York City in the Melrose Ballroom, and I get to meet Brock Anderson. I get to meet Brock for the show, so that's going to be great to chat with him about that. But he's completely right. And I've said it before that if you look at the pattern of how Tony Khan hires, he hires people that already know what they got to do, and they hire people already having the reps in. So if you are a new wrestler like Brock here, you're not going to get that same treatment. You're not going to get that one-on-one treatment. No one is going to tell you, hey, this is the hard camera, so make sure you look into the hard camera. And then like, these are the people, if they're booing, go out there and do something, or they're cheering, go give them a high five. There's no guidance, because apparently you are already supposed to come pre-packaged when Tony Khan hires you. And even if, I was going to say if he likes you too, but, he might be like, oh, I'll guide you. But, no one really guides anybody in AEW. So I totally agree with Brock, even though we already knew all of this.